in Quebec is that there is opposition, public opposition. We had expected, and I can tell you that the government of Quebec had expected, that the development of this discovery could and would go forward on a North American model. And that model in North America is we have the rules of the road well laid out in many jurisdictions. We have the environmental issues embedded in those rules and regulations. And so when we have a new discovery, we go forward with it based on those rules. And I think Quebec very easily could have gone and found best practices from the rest of North America and followed that model. I'll give you my interpretation, could be right, could be wrong, but my interpretation is that the public in Quebec has no experience, no culture, no familiarity with the oil and gas sector. And if you had a major new project in Quebec to do a hydro dam, if you found a new mine, you would have to do a major environmental study before it could go forward. And I think if we had found 3 billion barrels in Sweden, they would probably make us do an environmental study before we went forward. And I think for the Quebec public, the idea that we'd have this major discovery and not be doing a major environmental study was strange to their culture, strange to their experience. And so whether you want to call it a European culture, that Quebec is more than the rest of North America, whether you want to say it relates to the fact that they're more of a mining culture, either way, I think the demand was, we're not necessarily against shale gas, but we are definitely not for it until we see that it's proven safe, and it's proven safe by an independent study. And so that's where we find ourselves. That's, I think, my explanation for why the public opposition has been so strong. And as I said, if you do look at the polls, we've probably got 25% of people in Quebec who just say we have to move forward with our economy and we have to develop resources. You've probably got 25% of people, much like there is in Norway, who are against. And it doesn't matter in Quebec whether it's a hydro dam, a forestry project, a pig farm, a new mine, a new anything, they're against it. But the main population in Quebec, I think, is saying, look, if it can be done safely, we're for it. But we have not been convinced yet that shale gas can be done safely, and that's the purpose of this environmental study. Natural gas from shale is, it's cleaner and it's cheaper than almost all of our energy options. So you ask yourself, who's really against that? And the answer, as we've been able to learn in the last little while, is the people against it are, anti-development people, dream energy projects, coal, nuclear, and Gazprom. So there's the results of the environmental study to deal with. I think there's also more importantly, the issue of what will be the perception of shale gas by the public in Quebec 2 years from now. That's something that we can influence and work on, but can't control. We took a big part of creating a debate, not in private, not in the back rooms lobbying, but a debate in the public in Quebec from June, when it first hit the press in Quebec. When Macando happened, that's when it really hit the press in Quebec. And we've made a public debate on that for 9 months. And I can't prove one way or another where it made a difference, but I think that 50% of people who sit in the middle say, well, there's a real debate here. These guys are saying this, and these guys are saying this, and I don't know who to believe, so for now I don't want it to go forward, but I'm willing to consider it. If you don't create that public debate, the public just closes their mind, and you get what happened in France. And I think it's a big accomplishment for us that we are not in the situation of France, where there's a ban on fracking and no process defined on how to get out of it. In Quebec, we have a very well-defined process. But I do think we have to take a proactive role on the political side to ensure that the public does have a favorable perception of gas 2 years from now.